I'm going to call this dream the Android School. Had this dream a couple times back in 2009. I wrote it down. I remember some key parts of it, but I lost the paper I wrote it down on. So essentially, there was this large old stone building. Looked like something you would see on like the campus of like Harvard or some place like that. And it was a school. All the stuff in it was from like the water fountains and the tile and everything like that throughout the school was old though, like it was from the 1930s. It was odd, but like the school, the decor in the school was old. The building was much older. It was built in like the 1800s or something along those lines, which is interesting. It was like 4 stories tall, had like a pitched roof on it, everything like that. It looked like, something you'd see in like an upstate New York. Some of these historical buildings you see. I'm putting detail into it because it matters. Next to the school was a highway that was about 6 to 8 lanes wide, 3 or 4 lanes each way. On the other side of the highway was another school, almost identical to this one. They're almost spitting images of each other. And there was a road that ran from one school to the other, and the highway was below grade. So the road that was in front of the 2 schools that passed over the highway, the road was level and flat. The highway went underneath the road. So what it started out as, I was in the first school and I was going through it, and there was weird classes going on. I didn't quite understand what was going on with these classes. It didn't make sense. They were teaching them how to repair stuff, how to do this and that. And I wasn't in the class. I was like there, like observing. Like I wasn't first person. This was more of a third person point of view. So they going through the hallways of the school, working. I was up at the top and I was working my way down through the school. And they eventually the school I got down to the first floor, which was actually below grade, below ground level, and then all of a sudden I noticed like all these younger kids were there, and the age range of the school was from like high school on down all the way to kindergarten. And then, but in the basement, which was the first floor, there was mostly kids, like toddlers, younger kids. But these kids were odd, and I was like walking past it, I noticed it, and I was like, something's not right here. And the teachers were turning on TVs and letting the kids watch, and the kids were just like glued to the TV, like they were being programmed or something like that. And I was like, what the heck is going on here? Like, this is so odd. Like, I've seen kids that, get sucked into watching TV, but this was odd. This was like, you could almost see like something signal of some sort, like Bluetooth going from the screen into their heads. And it was quite peculiar. And then there was a fire alarm of some sort, but nobody did anything. Nobody moved. It's like, okay, I'm getting out of the building. And so as I was leaving the building, there were some other people outside. And one of them was a little kid. He was, well, I thought was a little kid. It was out by the road, like, a couple feet from the road where there's cars traveling. And I was like, what the heck? Like, why are you way out here by the road by yourself in front of the school? And the kid jerks his head. It's a little toddler, like, that jerks his head up and looks at me. And I could tell there was nothing there. It was like a robot. It was like a clone, android or something like that. I guess some places call it an automaton. But it's just like there was nothing there. And I was like, and it just looked back down. It was like poking like a flat football just over and over and over. And I was just like, well, like, what's going on here? And then all of a sudden I saw a school bus of people. A school bus shows up, and and a bunch of kids come filing out of the school bus, and they go into the school, into various classrooms and stuff like that. And I was like, and I had forgotten about the fire alarm and everything along those lines. And it was no longer a fire alarm. So I went back into school, and I saw some of these kids that were just gotten off the bus. They were in the various classrooms with all these other androids, and they were slowly getting, like, all the kids in the classroom were like working on them and turning them into an android. And like everybody was turning into androids, and like nobody could think, nobody could do anything. And then an alarm sounded again. And except this time I realized it wasn't a fire alarm, which is why nobody did anything last time. It was a storm alarm, like one of those weather radio alarms. And I went outside and looked, and there was this massive like storm coming right up the highway. Not only that, there was a tornado coming down from the storm on the highway. It was raining, it was windy, super windy, and they didn't shut the windows of the school. Like, they could not fathom it. And they were just like, well, for glitching around, would be the best way to phrase it. Like, for some reason, all of a sudden, because of the storm signal, everybody started glitching. And with that, the little kid that was in the front yard that was just poking the football, like, it started glitching and all of a sudden reverting back to a human because of the storm that was coming. But the storm, again, it was a strange storm. I don't know why in my dreams the storms are always strange, but it seemed very erratic and like a lot of lightning. And there was just a tornado. But the tornado was going straight down the highway. Like, there wasn't deviating from that path. And it was just very peculiar. And the reason why I wanted to go into so much detail about the building itself, because it seems like I've seen this building somewhere and I can't put my finger on it. I'm not sure if it means something, but it's like an older building. Like, it was built like in the 1800s. And it's big, granite blocks for walls and everything along those lines. And I remember looking over at one point, and that kid had got up and went into like the school bus that was outside, the little kid. And the school bus was just there, but the tornado was getting closer, and this tornado veered and hit the school on the other side of the highway, not the school that I was at, and destroyed it. But it was weird because that school was like a mirror of the school I was at, if that makes any sense. But nothing happened to the school I was at, and I don't know what that means. If it was like a reflection, or if there's something, I'm not sure. But yeah, that was the dream.